So now let's look at number functions. As we saw previously, this was the example I used. Raising 2 to the power of 3 gives you 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. These are all the ones that I would like to show you examples of. The other ones are all trigonometry, basically self-explanatory, or a little bit odd and advanced, such as the Lin function, logarithms, not very often used unless in really obscure circumstances. These are the number functions that I use most often in commercial environments. Absolute value, ceiling, floor, multiple, so on and so forth. Absolute value, give it a positive or a negative value and it always gives you a positive. That's what an absolute value function is. Ceiling returns the next integer up. So if you've got a decimal, regardless of whether it's 0.1, 0.5, 0.8, it still goes up to the next integer. Floor does the opposite. Regardless of the decimal value, it drops it down. And obviously ceiling n is the number that you're putting in. Both of these functions give you integer results. Mod is a modulus, which gives you m divided by n and the remainder thereof. It's a remainder function. Power you've already seen. Round will allow you to round a number to a number of decimal places. It will round up from 0.5 upwards, unlike ceiling and floor that simply give you the next integer up or the next integer down. Round actually rounds mathematically. 0.5 goes up, less than 0.5 goes down. A sign gives you the sign of a number. So if the number is positive, it gives you a 1. If it's negative, it gives you a -1. If it's 0, it gives you a 0. The square root gives you a square root of a number. The square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Truncate will allow you to truncate a number by dropping off decimals without rounding. Those are the number functions. Let's go and look at some examples. So here are my examples. I'm going to show you some simple examples, and these should be much easier than the string functions because they're fairly basic. Let's get rid of this note. I've already showed you where they are in the manuals. Absolute value of -1 gives you a +1. Absolute value of 1 gives you a +1 as well. Ceiling 2.4 should give you 3. Floor 2.5 should give you 2. In other words, when you try to round up the number 2.4, mathematical rounding should go to 2 because it's not 0.5. Rounding 2.5 should go to 3. Floor gives you 2. It drops it off. The modulus of 3 and 2 is 3 divided by 2, which is 1, and the remainder left over is 1. 10 divided by 4 is 2, the remainder is 2. Modulus is a remainder function. Power, 2 to the power of 3, is 8. Now we're going to round 10.123 to 0 decimal places. 0.1 is less than 0.5, so it's going to round down to 10. My next example here is going to round at 2 decimal places, which means it's going to go 1, 2, look at the 5 and decide how to round it. 5 goes up, so we get 10.13. And the next example tries to round the 4 after the 2 decimal places. Because it's 4, it's less than 5, it rounds it down to 10.12. This example takes 10.5 and rounds to 0 decimal places. 0 being the 5 going upwards, so we actually get 11. Now let's look at the sine function. Sine of -4 is -1. It's just telling me I've got a negative number. +4 is +1. Sine 0 is 0. In other words, whatever negative number I have, if it's even 5 trillion, it's still going to give me -1. It's just telling me whether the number is positive or negative. The square root of 100, 10 times 10 is 100. Square root of 4 is 2. Now we do truncate. Unlike round, it just chops it off. Regardless of whether it could be rounded up or down, it just chops it. This one here is just going to chop 1, 2. It's not going to give me a rounded up result of 10.13. So if I did this, select round 10.125, this one will give me 10.13. Trunk just truncates the two positions, 10.12. That's the number functions. That's enough examples to explain what they do. Much simpler than the string functions. And we stored it in the work file for you.